Hi, I'm Leah Kearns. I'm the host here at the Magnify Festival, and I've got Lisa Foley joining me today. Hi, Lisa. How's it going?
Hi, Leah. Look at your lovely smile. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so glad that you could join us today. And I just want to introduce Lisa because Lisa's been working with us for quite a while through We Being and through everything that's been coming through for Magnitude Hub. Lisa is one of our creators in this wonderful organization that we have where we support our course creators to create the courses that really evolve and bring their work forward in a way that creates impact and transformation for people in a short course format. And so today I really wanted to focus on Lisa sharing more around the inspiration that has been bringing her to this point and helping her to be able to realize what it is that really matters at the moment for creators and creatives with what their biggest issue is that they're working with. So Lisa, could you go ahead and explain a little bit more about that for us?
Yeah, okay. Just as a small amount of background, I've had many years in creative fields, and I've been an artist for the last 15 years, a public artist and, commission-based artist. And I also am a counsellor, so I work with people creatively, doing creative mentoring and creative counselling. And one of the main issues that always comes up, it's actually the big one, is that every creator tends to believe that they're the ones that have to create their work. Like their creativity must just come from themselves. So that means that the only resource they've got is what they know inside. And that means that any limit they've got is the limit of their potential. And so that's a self-limitation that's huge. And it stops people because most people don't actually see what they've got anyway. They think they don't have hardly anything to offer. Or they think they've got way too much to offer, and their self is way too important in the whole process. So I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
I think that I've probably at times been both of those things, either thinking that I've got nothing to offer or having myself believe that I've got so much to offer, and also then tripping over that fact, like getting to the point where things become so clouded and confusing about what needs to go first and what needs to be offered and the way that it needs to be offered, that and myself is there trying to struggle to put all the pieces together. And
Yeah.
so tell me, how can you move through that? Like what can you actually do to move to become a creator that has that creativity that just comes through with more flow and ease?
Well, I guess really the main thing is to understand that as a creator, you're not like the pure creativity isn't about you. It actually comes through you. Like any creator or creative or anybody that creates anything, it doesn't have to be art. It can literally be somebody that makes websites, or it doesn't matter, whatever you do that you build. If you believe that you're the only source of what you do, you'll produce sort of limited, old school, old patterned stuff that doesn't meet new demands and new calls and new needs at all. So if you realize then that it's not so much about you, but it's way beyond you, which is quite a tough concept actually in many ways, because if you've put in all these years of work, why isn't it about you? So it is, but your purpose is as a conduit. You're not the one that has to have all the genius. And if you believe you do, then that's when you'll get stuck, and that's when you'll reach for basically anything that you can possibly reach for. And it, generally speaking, won't be anything that answers anything new. It sounds harsh as I say it, but I suppose you may even respond to this yourself or understand this when you've had a drop in, an idea drop in out of nowhere. You really do know it came from somewhere else. You know it didn't come from anything you've sat there and deduced and put all your logic into. You haven't. It's come from elsewhere. So it's really the elsewhere, the otherwhere, that all creators tap into. That's the thing. So it's tapping into that, and not just being, I suppose, a logical, mathematical, formulaic, in your head creator, but letting all that go and being open and free. And that's when all the flow comes in. So yeah, knowing, to answer your question again, knowing it's not really all you. It's way bigger.
I
That's the thing.
love the way you term it as otherware, because that, you know, a lot of the times when we're creating things, or we can look to external to have inspiration, right? And often for people who perhaps are stuck in that self-creator aspect, believing that it's them creating, they'll look to another person for inspiration and for that that spark of what is there to be received as a creator. And when that happens, like, that's when you have a sense of people copying your work, or perhaps comparison kicking in, or that person's doing something similar to me, or, you know, these themes that creators then have to face as part of that creative process. How would you say, like, with the aspect of otherwhere, like, it's come from somewhere else, right? So that being moved from being placed on the other as opposed to even bigger, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the difference is the external pressures that are, let's say, on the ground, you know, that might be social constructs, it might be family pressures, it might be peer group, it may be what you think your audience needs, or what the marketplace is currently offering, or it may be, you know, your skill set that you believe you have, or the resources you do or don't have. If all of that, like the tail wags the dog, like if all of that controls what you do, how do you then do what is pure and flowing? You can't. It's completely constricted. So all of that pressure is what leads to reaching for old ideas and other people's expectations. So it so limits capacity. It really stops the creation from being pure. And there's a difference. Like, if you're a creative person, you know the difference between when you've tried your really hardest to create something, and you've lost energy for it before you've even finished it. You know, you've got nothing. So, but the hardest thing to do can often be to get out of your own way, especially if there is pressure. Like, if you've got a deadline, if you've got, you know, deadlines are huge, you know, especially if you're a creator with a commission and, you know, someone's like, hey, I got to have it done by now. And that can ruin people. It can literally polarize somebody into inaction and inactivity. So that the external is not that pressure. The otherwhere is not that. The otherwhere is what you believe your source to be. You know, the universe, whether you call it God, it doesn't matter. Where you believe you are supplied from. And creators are always, pure creativity is always endlessly supplied. It is. It's just about getting out of the way. And, you know, I feel like that comes through all sorts of sources. It may come through someone else. The answers can come through other people. You just have to not hang on to where it comes from. It may come from an error you make. You know, it may come from a passing conversation you had with someone, or a coincidence, or anything, a sign you pass. Like, these things, these answers are given to us from way out there. So really limit it, you know, don't try and limit it. Is that kind of the otherwhere any clearer?
I think it sounds like more, it's like something that you can really take forward, right? But it sounds like it actually requires a lot of trust, right? So what do you feel like is the connection between pure creativity and trust?
Yeah, look, trust is the actual foundation of it. So if you don't trust, you don't tap into pure creativity. So really, anytime you have created purely, you have been in a place of trust. You know, you may not have exactly known it. A lot of this stuff can be really subconscious, and people that know this subconsciously constantly flow because they always just trust. Like, for example, rather than ever thinking something like, this is my one idea, you know, I've got one idea right now and it's got to work. It'll be like, I've got 7 million. So how can I quickly move on to the next one? You know, how can this one flow through me so the next one can come? Or if I haven't got an idea, I know it's coming. Like, these sorts of people can walk away in the middle of what they're doing and know they're going to come back to all the answers being there. So it's really possible and really doable. And there's a genius in it. There's a genius, a higher genius. It's way beyond any genius that the brain can come up with in its own limited way of thinking. So trust.
Like that bit then is like a huge piece. In order to receive as a creator, trust is like the piece, right? That's the piece.
That's it. And actually, you'll know if you're not in trust because your nervous system will fire up. You know, you'll go nuts. You'll start to panic. You'll start to think crazy thoughts. You'll start to take crazy actions. All sorts of crazy things will happen because you're not trusting at all. When you're in trust, you're peaceful. Actually, you know, you really got no care, and it's like you're holding onto it very lightly. What you're doing, you're holding very lightly to it. And in a way, it doesn't matter, you know, it's not that big a deal. So you're calm. And so when you're calm, faced with a creative issue, you're more likely to be right there in trust, and the answer will come more simply and easily and magically and amazingly than you could ever imagine, really.
And that's so true, because I know that even as we're building different things out in the business and like facing the fact with the festival, that's a new creation for this first instance for us. But the thing is, through that process, trust, when I'm pushing out the edges of something new, when I'm navigating completely unknown territory, I don't have a framework to cling to. I don't have that step-by-step guidance, that logical sequence of things. And even if I do work with somebody else's framework and adopt that as my own and adapt it as we go, there's still that huge piece of trust that whatever is created out of the process of creation is actually going to be what it needs to be. And that might not necessarily translate into the numbers and the measurements and the figures and the billion things that that external force often represents to us, that this is what we call success, right? So I think my question around this is, how can a creative person trust if they don't already have that trust, or if in the process they almost lose that trust, they lose that confidence in themselves, and come like sort of stall? What's a way that they can actually like move through and regain that trust in themselves or in?
Well, look, yeah, it's a really good question. I actually was going to. Can I just ask you a question there before I answer that? Is that all right? Because what you said, I thought, ooh. So when you've done something that you have trusted versus something where you may feel like you've followed everyone else's formula, what's been the difference in feeling for you, and even the difference in outcomes?
The feeling for me is that it feels good. Like genuinely, I don't feel like I've missed anything. I don't feel like I've done it wrong. I don't feel like could have done better. And even if any of those kinds of thoughts come up for me, I can instantly sort of say, like, dismiss them, because I know that I've done my best, right? And it
you stand really solidly in it, and you trust actually then what you've created.
Right.
Yes, even if it's out there and it doesn't meet what everybody else thought. Right. Okay.
And it also, as you said, it gives me that opportunity to move on to the next piece that I feel is the creation that next needs to come through for me, right? Like it actually, I don't feel beholden to the project that I've created. It's sort of like I can find a completion with it, and I can be even if it, there was holes and things were missing, and by external standards, it wasn't professional or complete or whatever, I can be complete with it. I can be okay with it, and I can acknowledge what it was for me in what I learned out of it and what else it can evolve into as well.
Yeah. How good is that? Like,
that's the difference. That's
the flow. Yeah. That's awesome. So if people aren't trusting and they do feel like they've got to micromanage, because that's one of the things we like to do is micromanage, and people go straight to their brain and they go straight to their old techniques. They pick out, old self-help books, things that have given them tactics. So trust trust would seem to be the opposite of tactics, but you can practice it. So, I like to give, those that feel like they're in a place of not trusting and that they really are micromanaging everything and things are just not flowing, getting ugly, that I give them exercises where it doesn't matter what they do. So they practice trust by throwing it out there, trusting that the answer will come. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter when. There's no pressure, doesn't matter what they produce, doesn't matter. It always doesn't matter. And when it doesn't matter, you have that pressure release, you can trust, and the trust comes through. So I like to do that with people. I like to give them a scenario.
Can you share an example of that with us now?
I can.
Creative trust exercise.
Yeah, for sure. If anybody out there is feeling like they would like to try something to, let's say, test your trust, what about, this is straight out of the course, my current course, which is called Creating from Stardust, Not Self. And this is just one of the ones that's been snuck into that course, which is imagine now, ask the universe, ask otherwhere, what is my totem? What is my totem animal? Find your totem animal, create something really significant, create a totem for yourself, make it, do it in some way. Doesn't matter how you do it, write it, bake it, cook it, sculpt it, I don't talk about it, sing about it, doesn't matter. Find your totem. Might be just your totem for now, might be a totem forevermore, might be a totem for the history of your life, and bring it forward. And right now you might know it this instant, or you might not. It might just come to you. You might have 10 come to you, like, which one? Let it trust. And when you feel good with it, run with it, create something. And as a bonus, because part of pure creation is not just creating, but actually sharing, not putting stuff in the bottom drawer, or because that's the flow. And once you've created, even if it's not perfect, then you move on. And like you were saying before, exactly in that example. So if anybody's prepared to do this exercise and produce something, doesn't matter what it is, and send it to me, I will give you a free 45-minute creative mentoring session. And we can talk a little more about your creativity. So if anyone's up for that, go for it. There'll be a link somewhere where you can contact me with your creation.
That's a lovely offer for people to take up if they're interested in that. And I think you're going to extend that through to the end of February. Is that right for people?
Yeah, the end of February. And if somebody says to me, but you said there's no time and it doesn't matter when it happens, just let me know. Contact me and say it hasn't come yet, and I'll go, that's okay. Let's work on it in your 45-minute session. So even if somebody hasn't produced something because they've got a time thing happening, it doesn't matter.
Beautiful.
So,
beautiful.
Contact me.
That's a lovely extension to the work that you've been talking about, and of course with the course that you're bringing forward, Creating from Stardust, Not Self, which is all about revealing the true essence of your creativity. And I love so much that this is so focused on being able to receive as a creator and as a creative, and having that receiving be part of the support, but also the connection. So those two really critical aspects that are basically being able to have creativity with a capital C, right? Like,
absolutely,
have it be front and center, and have it be something that you're able to trust and bring forward every single day as being the creator and creative that you are. And look, Lisa, I've so enjoyed being able to connect with you today. And I really feel like for those of you who would love to try out Lisa's exercise in creative trust and in working with your totem animal and mythical creature, I'd say take some time after the end of watching this and really drop into the energy in the space that's been created around this opportunity to give that a go and try that out. And, if nothing comes to you straight away, trust, just let it be. And Lisa, do you have any final words for people in this way of receiving from that perspective of being a creative and a creator in that space of the support or the connection with receiving?
Yeah. First, I'm just going to say I'm glad you mentioned the mythical creature, because yes, some people really align with that, more so than just an animal. And that was in my notes and I forgot to say it. But that's because I'm an imperfect creation myself, and that's cool. So the support is definitely a higher support. The connection is connection with what is higher than yourself, but also it connects through to you. So you're on the ground with the hands, you're doing the creating. So you've got to be connected with your hands, you've got to be connected with who you are, but also you've got to be connected with what is on high for creativity with a capital C, not with a small c. And the small c is when we're not connected into that. So I hope people can feel supported by what's greater than themselves. That's what I hope always in all the work we do.
I love that aspect that you've mentioned today about the otherware, because that really makes it something I think that's a real beautiful anchor point to be able to connect to, that transcends the labels of God, source, whatever it is that you use, life force, energy, like it transcends all of that. And I think that it really helps to create a differentiation between the other external force, pressure, outside person, thing, system, pattern, mindset, issue, and the real creation center and single source of truth that's really there available for people. So thank you so much for sharing again. And look, I love connecting with you and hearing more about your work. And if you're interested in taking up Lisa's kind offer today, or exploring more about Lisa's course, we'll be sharing all that information in the links below from her course about creating from stardust, not self, and revealing the true essence of your creativity. Thank you so much, Lisa, again for joining us. And
thanks, Leah.
Yeah, it was wonderful to be
awesome.
able to connect with you. And for all of you watching, we'd love to see you on the next session, and let us know if you've got any questions for Lisa. She'd be more than happy to jump on and answer those for you. Thank you so much, and see you again soon.